Hey, welcome everyone to our live stream. This is Ned from Caspio. You guys know the drill. Before I begin, as always, if somebody can do me a quick favor in the chat window, let me know that you can hear me okay. That is the number one maintenance item that we need to do before we begin. And if you have attended these live sessions before, you know that I've had some issues with audio, so I just want to make sure that's working correctly. Good. Hey, Brian. Hey, Didier. Piotr. Welcome back, Phil. Northwest. Good to see many of the familiar faces, in this case, faces or names. We haven't had the live stream in a little while, so that's on me. I went on a vacation last week. And then, of course, next week is July 4th, so we're going to be off on that Monday, too. So we have 2 weeks back-to-back. Slight delay for my live streams. But I hope you guys are having a good day. Hopefully you guys have been well. And more importantly, I hope that you guys are learning from these live streams and are able to take this knowledge and implementing that knowledge inside your own applications. So hopefully you find these sessions beneficial so that we can continue accelerating our Caspio knowledge and learning how to use the platform. Today, we're going to be looking at the enhancements and capabilities of the PDF document generation, the fillable PDF. So we made some improvements since the last release. 32. If you haven't seen the release video, I briefly go over some of the updates, but today we're going to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into each of the capabilities so that hopefully you might be able to leverage that for your own applications in some way. Okay, so let us begin. And I will cover each one of these updates one at a time. I'm only going to use one document in today's live stream. I figured it might be easier just to consolidate everything, all the updates that we've made inside one document so that we don't have to keep going back and forth and opening up other documents that we have. So the first thing you'll notice, if you haven't already, is a new column up here, generated files. So on the front end, every time your end user downloads a file, okay, they click on the link to download that file. So this one opens up in a new tab. Okay, what you're going to be able to see in the back end, when you refresh the page, you're going to be able to see that increment of 1 or 2, depending on how many times that file was generated or downloaded. Okay, so that's the first enhancement that we made. It's good from a metrics perspective. So if you wanted to know, how many times that file was downloaded from all of your end users, you're going to be able to see that information here in what I like to call the templates dashboard, where we can see the list of all of our templates. The next enhancement that we made, let me open up that document. You now have the ability to map your fields to any data type inside your table, indicated by the icon that you see here on the left-hand side. So if it's a lowercase t, that means text 255. If it's a yes or no in the table, that's going to be a checkbox. If it's a date and time, you're going to be able to see a little calendar icon. If it's a text 64,000, you're going to be able to see a capital T. So as I mentioned, you're going to be able to map out to any data type back in your table. So that is the next enhancement that we've made to the PDF document generation. The next one, which was highly requested, is the ability to modify the field once the document is generated. So in this example, when I've downloaded this W9 form, notice that I have the ability now to edit the name. Now, I could also make all of my other fields editable as well, but I only made one of the fields. But you guys get the idea. You should have the ability to modify data once the file is downloaded. And to do that, it's a very simple modification here in the back end. When you select that field, or any field that you're mapping back to your table, you're going to be able to see edit after file is generated. So you can always allow that field to be editable, never allow, and allow if the field is empty. Okay, so if the downloaded file has an empty value, the end user is going to be able to input some data inside that field. Okay. Next, very useful update is the ability to use specific number of characters within the value. Okay, so very useful if you have a social security number field. In this case, we have, in my table, I have one field called social security number, but we know that social security number has multiple characters. But in this template, it's separated into 3 different fields. So in the first portion, we can map that out 1 to 3. So it's just going to grab the first 3 characters of our social security number back from our table. And just like in my downloaded file here, you can see inside a table, this is all one string, one value, but I'm parsing it, I'm grabbing just select number of characters and I'm populating, transferring that data from the table to this first portion of this entire field. So back into my template, you're going to see I'm using 1 to 3. Then we have 4 to 5. And then we have 6 to 9 to grab the remaining number of characters from the value in the table. Okay, very useful if you're looking to only select specific number of characters from the table. And another example could be the name. So if you ended up using a full name field in your table, which has the first and last name, and your template has, well, this may not be the best example because names could be a different length. You could have the first name that has more characters or fewer characters, and you can have the last name, same thing. So that might not be the best example. But if you have, let's say, an ID number like this one here, which I'm also doing the same thing, I am grabbing 1 to 2, and then I'm grabbing 3 to 9. Okay, because it's static. That value is always going to be the same length. But first and last name, bad example, because you can have somebody named Ben, you can have somebody named Jensen, so it wouldn't be the best example. Okay. So that's another update that we made to the document generation. The next one that we're going to go over is the aesthetics, to modify the fields upon downloading. So you can see a couple of font options down below that we have. So you can change the font family type. You can change the font size, style of the font once it's generated. You can change the color of the font, letter casing. So you can do uppercase, lowercase, combination of both. And you can also align the text depending on how you want that text to be positioned. And lastly, you can do a background color on that field. So I think I'm doing that for the very first field. Let me see which one I have. Okay, so it's actually the business name. So if I come back here to the template and we go down to business name, I'm using this background color here. So if you wanted one of your fields to pop in that PDF document, you can do that. I'm also centering my text. As you can see in the downloaded document, I'm centering my text. I made it all capital letters. So here in the template, you will see that I'm using uppercase. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. So the next one, which if you guys recall, we did the document generation a few times now. I think this is round 3. We had 2 more live streams on document generation, but previously we weren't able to separate the date from time. So even if you had a date time data type and you only had the date in the table, on the template, once it's downloaded, you would still see date and time together. Now you can remove the time by going to settings. So if I close that, and let's say we reopen up the template, you're going to be able to see a tab here for settings. Okay, so we have the settings tab. And I'm using the localization English, but you can use a different localization based on the country. Okay, and if you do that, you're going to be able to see short date and time in 2 different fields or segments. Okay, so what's going to happen now, and I know that this is not a date field, this is a completely different field, but I didn't have a date field in this template, but I mapped out my date field anyway. So I'm just going to submit the form here so that you can see. It's a very basic form. I'm just going to make one submission here. So let's say Chris Jones, business name, Cloudinary. Let's just say maybe a couple of checkboxes here. And you can do conditional here. You guys know how to conditional forms. If you select a checkbox, you can hide it and show fields. I didn't go as far as doing that. Let's do the address here, something simple, city, state, zip, account number, social security number, employee ID number, and then date. So now we have the date. And we're going to say June 27, which I believe is today's date, right? Yeah. Now in the previous release, when the date is submitted, even though it's just a date, on that PDF template, when it's downloaded, you will be able to see the date and time, and there was no way to separate that. Now, when we hit submit, and we go back to download W9, so here's the latest one. When I click on that link to download that template, you're going to be able to see just the date inside the field. And the only way I was able to accomplish that is by going to settings and changing the localization here that we have. Okay. Hey, Tracy, good to see you. Yeah, you can change the font color, Ali. Okay, as I mentioned, I don't know if when that question came in, but if you look at the mapping of the fields down here below, you can change the color of the font. You can also change the background color. Okay, so let's say you own a, I don't know, like a barbecue place for chicken wings, right? And you wanted to download a contract that you needed. You can fully customize that contract for your own needs, however it relates. And then you can print that out, you can download it, and you can archive it, save it to your own files. Or if you need to email it, you can do that as well. Yeah, barbecue chicken is one of my favorites too. I just came back from Dallas on my vacation for 7 days. Spent some time with the family over there. And they had a lot of good barbecue. You know, they are known for having good barbecue. It was my very first time in Dallas, in Texas, actually. So they're notorious for having good barbecue. So I made sure I had some. I went to some places that were recommended, and it holds true. You know, it was really delicious. So if you like eating good barbecue, so that really was the highlight of my trip. I'm not gonna lie. If you like ribs, I love ribs, and you know, it just falls off the bone. It's really good stuff. All right. I believe, and Piotr, let me know. Piotr actually is spearheading all of the document generation features. I know that one of the requested ones was to map out back to a view. That's in the funnel. Our team is working on that. It is in the funnel, so that will be coming out. Maybe not next release, but the one after, so we'll see. But if you have any additional questions or feedback, or would like to see something out of the document generation templates, Piotr is the project manager behind that feature, so he can take in all your feedback, take it back with his team, and work on that. So, Piotr, thank you for joining us here and answering questions. I believe that I have covered off all the PDF enhancements that we've made. Piotr, let me know if I missed any of them. We checked off generated files. We talked about characters. We talked about styling. We talked about being able to modify a value upon downloading. And I believe, and then we talked about being able to map out to all the data types in the table. So I have hit, I believe, 5 or 6 of them. And I know somebody else mentioned they wanted to see SMS, which is also the latest update that we made to the platform to be able to send international SMS text messages. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Before release 32, we can only send to US and Canada, but now you can send international. The checkbox condition. Remind me on the checkbox condition. I think we have here under checkboxes, I am mapping out to yes or no data type. And then you can do true or false, which is the 2 options that we have for checkboxes. And as you can see, you can also allow checkboxes to be updatable or modifiable upon download. All right, so while Piotr is answering my question, why don't we dive into the SMS? We have more conditions now. I think we talked about that in the previous one, but more conditions. I believe that was in the text field. You're right, though. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Let me just see if I have it in this one. I don't think I have it in this one, but in my previous template, that is a good point. Let me go back to one of my other templates that I have, and just let me remember where I used it. Not the auto insurance sample form. Let me see if it's the sample form or maybe the attestation form. One of these two. Let me take a look at my sample form. Give me a second, I'll find it. I know if it's a text field, I believe, and you use a checkbox method. What was it again? Piotr, if you can remind me. I know that we can. I'm trying to remember how to get there, so I apologize about that one. Checkbox template field. So checkbox template field, and I believe, yeah, so here. No, that wasn't it. Equal. So if I use a text field, I believe on the checkbox field in the template, you can see all of the options that we have. Yeah, different data source field type. Perfect. Okay. So it can equal, it can does not equal, is blank. You guys are used to these, seeing these in the data page and also the view. But now on the template as well, you can select these options here as well. Okay, especially as Piotr is saying on the lists. So on the list, it's also very important. I think you're talking about if we have a list string in the table, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So do explore this as well. If you have a checkbox on the template, okay, on the PDF template, and you map it out to a different data source other than the checkbox field, for example, in this case, it's text 255, yeah, you see all the other options that you can select and map that back to your field in the table. Okay. All right. Now I think we've officially covered all of the updates for the PDF template. Let me quickly go over the SMS. If you go to your account settings, you will notice this tab for SMS, and the first thing you'll need to do is add the country where you want to send the SMS text message. Okay. I don't really know how the credits apply based on your pricing plan and how much that's going to cost. So I'm not really sure how that's going to affect, depending on how many text messages you sent to that specific country, it accumulates the credits. So I'm not really sure how that works, but you add the country, let's say, I don't know, China, and you add that here. It's been added. You can see the area code is +86 for that country. And then once you have it listed here, now you can use it in the task. You can use it in the triggered action, and you can also use it on the data page side on the destination. So let me see if I have a data page. I wasn't planning on talking about SMS today, but if I have a form that has a phone number field, we might be able to do something with that. Let me see if I can reuse the same form that I created today for today's live stream. No, that is a wrong form. So let me see my W9. I don't think I have a phone number field here. Let me see. I don't have a phone number field, but let me see if it still allows me to do anything with the messaging. So if we enable SMS, no phone number field. Now you can do a fixed country code if you'd like. So you can just put in +86 here. Okay, if it's static, so you can do a fixed country code. You can append a country code from the field. So if you have a field in the table that contains the country code, you can do that as well. A lot of people do that. They'll have a country code field just for the country code as a separate field, and then you have another field for your phone number. Okay. And same thing with the SMS notification, which is handled on the subsequent screen where you can input the phone number if you want the admin level user to receive an SMS when that form is submitted. But this will go back to the end user when they submit the form. If you had a if you had a phone number field in the table. Now I don't have a phone number field, but you first have to enable the country that you wish to send that text message to, and then you can apply it here in the data page wizard. Okay, so I think Piotr answered the credits question on how that's priced. So thank you, Piotr. Yeah, so I guess it's per SMS. That's how many credits it costs. Didier, I know that you were the one who asked about the SMS, so let me know if this is answering your question. It's really not that complicated. It's just enabling the country first in the SMS tab before you can use it here on the data page side, task, and also the triggered actions. Date and time, can you now separate these fields in the table? Not in the table, unfortunately, but we are working on that. We don't have a way to handle both the date and time separately. I wish that we did, believe me, but it's still handled as one field in the table. The number it's sent from, is it randomly generated or do you set it up yourself? I think that's just randomly generated, the number that it comes from. I don't see a way to set up where the actual text is coming from. So I think that's just automated. Now the email is different. You know, if you're sending an email message, then yes, on the next screen, you have to use an email that's been verified and approved. You can use the Caspio by default. This is the default email that we give you, but if you verify your own email, so if you have a domain, usually when you buy a domain with a hosting provider, they provide you an inbox, and you might have @didier.com. You verify that email, and now you can use that as the from email inside your account each time you send these automatic emails. Let me just make sure this is what Northwest is asking. I don't know if he's asking to populate on the PDF template as date and time separately, or if he wants to have the date and time separated in the table. There's a huge difference there. Okay, so mapping out the date and time separately on the PDF is what's coming out, I believe, in the next release, according to Piotr. But if you're asking if you can separate the date and time in the table, yeah, in a table, then yeah, that's gonna that's something that we don't have the capability to do just yet. I know that it's one of the highly sought after features from our customers, and even myself, I've gone back to the development team, told them about that multiple times. So hopefully that we can speed that up and make that available on the table side. Okay. All right. Well, it was really good to see many of you. As I said before, sometimes why the programming is so difficult, maybe I can find out the answer for you and get back to you next time if they provide a clear answer for me. Because I know that because it has to propagate throughout all of the other objects in Caspio, data pages, views. So maybe that's why there's some heavy development that needs to be done. Let's see what Piotr is saying. On the template level, you will have the possibility to use time and date from exact date time or timestamp field. Okay, you're welcome. Can it send to as many countries as activated in case of notification? So when you have a phone number field on the form, I mean, I'm assuming so, yeah, because if you have multiple phone number fields, I don't know how that would work. So I'm just trying to think if there's a way to do that. Usually when I think of a phone number field, I enter in one phone number, and upon submission, it will go to that phone number, like the SMS notification. But in terms of, let's see, in terms of the SMS, let me come back here. Messaging option, notification SMS. Let me see here. One second. I'm just looking at the I'm just trying to figure out the SMS notification, if we can notify more than one phone number. I know with the email, we can use a semicolon to to notify, like, so for example, I can use multiple email addresses separated by the semicolon to send or notify many emails. I was just trying to figure out where I would use the SMS. Let's say you're filling in a form and many people. Yeah, for triggered actions, I know you can do for sure. Triggered actions, I know. I'm just trying to figure out here on the data page side. Let me see. Let's say you're filling in a form and many people qualify to receive that notification that are all in different countries. Do they all receive the same? Yeah, on triggered actions, you can do that. But here on the data page, I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to do that. But do I put in the SMS phone number here? Is that how it works? I'm trying to figure out where to put the phone number to send that SMS to. Do you put it in the to field next to the email address? On the update form? Yeah, we're trying to figure that out at the moment. But if you connect that with the trigger, because on the trigger you can do that. Once something is updated, right, on the table side, trigger will allow you to do that. Yeah, this is email notification settings. This is not an email, valid email. But am I blind? Am I missing the SMS? Where is the SMS? So if I go, unless I have to keep going, right? Okay, so here, sorry, it was the next screen. I had to click next one more time. Let me see. So this is the acknowledgement email, and then to. So here you will put in the phone number separated by the semicolon. So upon update and submit, you can use multiple phone numbers here to notify users within the organizations of that update or that submission. Okay? Yeah, that's my fault. Believe me, guys, no matter how many times you use the platform, I've been using this platform for almost 13 years. I still, as you can see, get stumped once in a while. It happens. It's inevitable. And you'll see, because on July 4th, we have that off, right? So we don't have the live stream on Monday, this coming Monday. But the following week, the session is going to be how to modify and customize a user profile page to make it look aesthetically pleasing, right? So we're going to use a lot of HTML, not a lot. We're going to use a moderate amount of HTML and CSS to customize the layout inside the HTML block to have the user profile page have an image, maybe have a nice bio, some more information, and then you can edit the profile, and then you see the text fields for the end user to be able to modify their data. So in 2 weeks from now, we're gonna do a session on how to modify a user profile. Yeah. So if I log in as a user, I can see my name, my image, my bio, and I can modify that and make it look visually appealing to the end user. Okay. So bring some coffee. We're gonna do some, like I said, moderate level coding, front end coding. Using some divs, some floats, maybe some tables. We'll see. Margins, padding. To have a if I usually what I like to do is, let's say we go to Google and we get user profile web page, and then we'll go to images. I use this for inspiration right before my live streams, maybe a day or two before, and I try to find one that I like. So if I like this profile, I will recreate this in our live stream. Okay, where we have the image, we have, like the line, we have some basic info about the user, then you might have a new column here. And then when you edit, when the user edits the profile, then we see text fields, and then we hit update and we go back to this look. Okay, I haven't picked out the profile yet, but I'll try to find one that's somewhat challenging so that you can see how we can push the boundaries in terms of development to make things look really, really nice. Okay, this is hard to see. But yeah, this is nice. We have the image, and then we have this section here right next to it, which is side by side. So if I were developing the user profile, I would build something like that, right? This to me looks pretty clean. The layout makes sense. Name is bigger, you can see that, pops out. So usually you want the important information to pop out for the end user, and then you lay it out however you feel, whatever you like, according to your own preference, and what your users might like. Okay, so Didier, there's a question there by Piotr. So just like our, how we have the from field for emails, Piotr is asking you if that would be useful to have it to have a from field for SMS as well. Okay, we don't have that today, but if that's something that you feel like would be useful to you, then we can take that back to our team. Thank you guys so much for coming back. I know many of you, we've talked via email and also here in the chat window many times. So I really do appreciate you guys coming back. If you didn't come back, we wouldn't have these live streams. So again, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate it for you guys coming back. So thank you so much. And I hope to see you in 2 weeks from now, where we do a little bit of HTML and CSS to modify the profile page. And as always, I like to give you guys all the downloadable files. For this one here, today's live stream, there's really nothing to download unless you guys want the W9 template to practice with. But if you just Google W9 PDF template, you're going to be able to find it. That's how I found this one for my example today. Hey, Simon, good to see you. Thank you so much. Tracy, Didier, Brian, I don't know who else is here. We have, I don't know how many people we had today, 15, 16 people. So if you decide to leave, thank you so much. We've officially covered off all the content for today's live stream. Thanks for coming back. We'll see you in 2 weeks. You can always reach out to me via email. So if you have a recommendation or a suggestion on what you would like to see in the live stream, send me an email and I'll do my best to incorporate that into my future live stream. Okay. Perfect example today. I wasn't going to cover SMS, but Didier asked about SMS as well to be covered off, and I decided to include that in today's live stream. Okay. Thanks, Tracy. Good to see you. I'm happy that we didn't have Techno or RetroNet today in the bottom right. If you guys remember that glitch from last live stream, when I tried to use a video over a video, it put me in 4 different boxes in the bottom right. Completely distorted that image, so I'm happy that didn't happen today. Thanks, Brian. Good to see you as well. You guys have a good day. Have a good week. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And I'll keep the chat running for a few more minutes if there are any last-minute questions. And then we'll end the live stream. Have a good day. Bye-bye.